What's good, y'all? Rich Sosa back in a building with another banger. Now, first things first, before we go ahead and get started today, I gotta say thank God for another day and another opportunity. And as y'all can see from the looks of the title and the screen, today I got a very special build in store for y'all. Now this one, I'm going to be calling it the 2-way stretch post score, but it's going to come out to a 3-level score. And this one today, it's going to be reminding me of Chris Bosh. Now as far as for this build, we'll be able to reach a 99 plus when it comes to our driving layup, post control, mid-range shot, 3-pointer, block, and strength. Now we'll be able to get a total of 55 badges. 9 of those are going to be Hall of Fame, and my favorites are going to be Immovable Force, Float Game Physical Handles, and Acrobat. As far as for the gold, we're going to get 17. I liked Fearless Finisher with Bulldozer and Back Down Punisher. We'll get 14 silver, and one of those is going to be Anchor with 15 bronze. And just to give you an idea, some of these will be Handles for Days, Glove, Agent 3, Interceptor, and Limitless Range. Now this build is definitely a deep range shooter, really special on the offensive end, and as far as for a 2-way threat, this build can definitely hold a presence on the interior as well as outside. Now the strength makes this build very cheesy, especially on the offense and the defensive end, and it's honestly one of the fastest centers to use for any situation in game mode, and I think it can still compete with taller big men. So look, before we get any further, if it's your first time coming through, be sure to hit that sub button if you're new, smash that like button, turn on post notifications to be a part of the Rich family, and last but definitely not least, comment down TG for Thank God King Jesus and where you're tuning in from, and I most definitely will be sure to get back to y'all with a response. So to get started today, let's put this build under the center position. Go ahead and put your height to 6'9" with a weight of 236. Now for the wingspan, I'm going to go with 6'11", and this is really going to open up the floor for the shooting. Now the first area that I'm going to get into, of course, in my opinion, I think it's going to be the physicals. So as for that speed, I'm going to put this all the way up to a 77. Getting into the acceleration, this is really optional, but I decided to max this out to a 67. For our strength, I'm going to go with a 95. And I think this is really going to make the build special in every area. Now as far as for the vertical, I'm going to go with a 74. And then getting into our stamina, make sure you go with a 90. Now when you do your Gatorade facility workouts, these numbers are going to go up a +4. So we'll have a 94 stamina. As for the vertical, this is going to be a 78. 99 strength. As for the acceleration, this is going to be a 71 with an 81 speed. Now I think these numbers are perfect for this kind of build. Now I think once we get into the defensive end, this is going to get even better. So go with a 77 for that interior defense. 62 getting into the perimeter. 72 when it comes to our steal. And then as for that block, I decided to go with an 87. Now getting into the defensive rebound, I'm going to go with an 83. And right there, it's going to bring our offensive to a 43. And this is what we're going to be looking like for this area of the build. Now I'll get into the badges once we complete this build to 99 overall. But just to give you an idea, this is what we can do. Now I think the high block definitely makes this build very versatile and a huge threat on the interior presence. Once we get into the playmaking, go ahead and put the speed with ball up to a 70. Getting into the actual ball handle, I decided to go with an 80. And then as for when it comes to the pass accuracy, I decided to leave this at a 50. Now a majority of the attributes will go into the shooting. Now I think the ball handle makes this build perfect, especially very unique at the center position, being that we're 6'9" with an 80 ball handle. Now getting into the actual shooting, I'm going to go with a 67 free throw. As for when it comes to our 3-point shot, I'm going to go with an 85. Now if you want to, these numbers are adjustable, but as for the mid-range shot, put this to an 84. And this is going to set you up perfect for the rest of the build. Now look, some of the badges that I do have an eye on are going to be Limitless Range and Agent 3. For the mid-range shot, I think the build gets a whole lot better. Now just to wrap everything up for the post control, put this to an 84. This is really going to open up your offensive arsenal even more. And then as for this driving layup, I'm going to go with a 91. You should bring up your close shot to a 71, and completely this is what the build is going to be looking like. Now some of my favorite badges on this end of the floor are going to be Fearless Finisher, also Pro Touch and Dream Shake on gold. We'll also be able to get Silver Hook Specialist and Gold Post Fade Phenom. This build overall for the finishing is very special. Now we get a whole lot of Hall of Fame badges. I do like Float Game, especially when it comes to Bunny and Aerial Wizard with Acrobat. As for when it comes to this build, on the post scoring end, we get Silver Unpluckable, Gold Back Down Punisher, Drop Stepper, and even badges like Post Spin Technician. As for the mid-range shot, I like Blinders as well as Catch and Shoot. Now I mentioned a few of these badges earlier. I think Space Creator is going to be important as well as MIDI Magician. Now I think for the offensive end, you have a good idea of what this build can do, but it's pretty special in all three categories. As for the playmaking, I'm pretty happy with the badge Hall of Fame physical handles. We'll still be able to get handles for days with blow by. I think overall this build is set up perfectly to find success in any game mode only because of the versatility on the offensive end. Now the defense is very special as well. You'll be able to play a little bit on the perimeter, but because of our high strength, and I think a 77 interior defense this year is more than enough for any build. Now the reason why I say that is because if you know how to play perfect interior defense, I think this build is going to allow you to dominate taller defenders who are trying to post you up. Now granted, you do have a higher speed than most of them, so that's why I think this is one of the best high speed and versatile builds that you can make. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down below, but as for the attributes, do take into consideration activating your takeover, which is at least a +10, buying attributes, which is anywhere from a +4 to 5, and wearing gear that's at least a +1 to 3. Now the better we play throughout each game, you'll also be able to get a minor boost. And from here, let's go ahead and move forward to make sure that everybody made today's build correctly. Now we should be able to get these three different comparisons. First, of course, being Chris Bosh. And look, as y'all can see, together we have created the unique two-way stretch post score, which does come out to a 3 level score. Now I think that Jonas Valanciunas is another great comparison, as well as Miles Turner. Overall, this build, I think it's going to be able to dominate in any game mode, especially once you add up everything that I previously mentioned when it comes to boost. Now I really just want to say thank y'all so much for the support. More so than anything, I humbly thank God for another day and another opportunity on this earth. God bless y'all, and before we get out of here, if it was your first time coming through, be sure to hit that sub button if you're new, smash that like button, turn on post notifications to be a part of the rich family, and last but definitely not least, comment down TG for Thank God King Jesus and where you're tuning in from, and I most definitely will be sure to get back to y'all with a response. And with all that being said though, I got one last thing to say. Rich out.